In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to do an oil change. Here are some of the materials you will need. You'll need an oil pan, a new filter, socket wrench to get your plug off, and a filter wrench to get your filter off if it's too tight. You'll also need your oil. The first thing you'll want to do is find out what size your oil plug is. Mine is a 15, so I'll be using a 15 socket to take the plug out. When you're doing this, you'll want to have your oil pan underneath and the plug to catch the oil at the end. Try not to make a mess, but if you do make a mess, it's okay. Just make sure you clean it up. Taking one of these off can be a pain in the butt. You can get very messy. After that, you'll want to let it sit there and drain for a few minutes just to get all the oil out. After, you'll want to take the oil filter off. As you can see what I'm doing here, I'm trying to take the oil filter off. And I'm going to be using an oil filter wrench because my filter was on too tight. When you're removing this, it could get really messy. I'm about to get pretty messy here. Make sure you always have a rag on standby because it could come in handy. As you're taking the filter off and as you're taking the plug off, you want to keep in mind that the oil it could still be hot. So you just want to be cautious if it's hot. Here I made a mess, so I'm going to be wiping it up and then removing the filter while becoming a complete mess. But it's okay to make a mess here because you're taking all the oil out. You're not putting any in yet. You want to make sure as you're doing this, you don't want to lose any pieces or try and get anything in the dirt like the plug. You don't want to get the plug dirty or whatever, because if the seal's not tight when you put it back on, that could cause an oil leak and that wouldn't be very good. So as you see, I've removed the oil filter and now I'm going to let it sit in my oil pan and just drain. That filter we no longer need, you can throw it away. But for now I'm going to leave mine here. I'll show you what it all looks like sitting there. So after that, you're going to want to get your new filter and your new oil and open them up. After you've opened them, you're going to want to take the oil and you're going to put a little bit inside the filter. And then you're also going to want to mist a little bit after you're done filling it. See, as you can see, I just missed a little bit. So you're going to dab your finger and you're going to wipe the edges just so you can make sure you get a good seal when you put it back on. After that, you're going to go back underneath and you're going to put the filter back on. And as you're going under there, you just want to be careful that you have other stuff under there like your plug, and you don't want to get any body parts in the oil if you missed any. So just make sure you're careful and you don't spill anything either. So when putting this the new oil filter back on, you don't want to crank it with the oil filter wrench. You just want to hand tighten it. You don't want to over tighten the filter. It's very important. So I'm going to hand tighten it as much as I can. After you've hand tightened it, you're going to take your plug and you're going to clean out if there's any oil dripping or whatever. You're going to clean it out and you're going to place your plug. And you're going to make sure that your plug goes in as straight as possible. You want to make sure it's sealed up. You don't want any leaks coming out. So after you've put the plug in, you're going to want to crank it as hard as you can with the wrench you used to take it off. This one is important to be tight. You want to make sure it's tight. As you can see, that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm tightening it as much as I can. Lastly, you're going to want to open the hood and you're going to want to find out where your oil goes. Once you've located where your oil goes, you want to look at how much oil you need in your vehicle. Some vehicles are the same, some vehicles are different. You can locate how much you need in each vehicle by looking in the manual or online. And as you're pouring this, you want to be careful. You want to try not to miss any oil. If you miss a little bit, it's okay. As you saw me do, I missed a little bit. But just try your best not to miss any. And after you filled it, that is it. And that is how you do an oil change. Make sure you check your levels.